some personal. Getting up attention. Y'all are you and man want to know. Okay, then no man you be here. A whole lot of vandals out here. Some all want to sample, already fit trample. None of them out they don't care. All them want to wear and tear you. People go so much them come near you. But you know easy to get them if you go suck your bed. Tell them that somebody they don't want it. So put your office illegal demo. When everything demo. Oh man, don't go talk.
WEFM, the clean fresh sound.
Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Welcome back to Vincent and the Grenadines, and this is Activated Mornings. You're listening to Ari, and with me is Roleza. This is our Talk to Me segment, or open forum, where whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about it this morning. The number to call is 457-9997. Also, the number to WhatsApp, 457-9997, where you can also place calls. We are also live on YouTube and Facebook at WFM99SVG. So this morning, the topic of choice is what is accepted or appropriate work attire for employees. And Roleza, where does this story come from?
All right, so I'm scrolling through Loop News about an area saying it actually came from Associated Press. So I came across an article yesterday that says France's lower house passes a bill banning hair discrimination. And the reason why I thought it was of interest is it was a point that was made in the conversation you had with Atiba Edwards on Wednesday. Tuesday. Tuesday.
Yeah.
Where the topic or a point was made in terms of hair, in terms of Rastafarians attending schools, etc. Right? Mm-hmm. Anyhow, so lawmakers in France's lower house of parliament on Thursday approved a bill that would ban discrimination over the texture, length, color, or style of someone's hair. The bill's authors hope the groundbreaking bill sends a message of support to Black people and others who have faced hostility in the workplace and beyond because of their hair. But the measure still faces a long road ahead. It goes to the Senate next, where it could face opposition, right? I think one of the interesting things to note was who it was who passed this bill or who advocated for it. So the draft law echoes similar legislation in more than 20 U.S. states. The bill was proposed by Olivier Serva, a French lawmaker from the French Caribbean island of Guadeloupe. He says that if it eventually becomes law, it would make France the first country in the world to recognize discrimination based on hair at a national level, right? So the conversation today is what is appropriate attire and I guess deportment or carriage for persons in the workplace. And it was interesting that I saw that. And then I came across a post from a friend who had on her WhatsApp status the other night. She says, am I the only one who gets annoyed or turned off when I go into a business place and the person who works at the front desk or reception has a big cattle hoop in their nose, or I guess she meant just a nose ring, right? Or a tongue piercing with a loud ring. Where has our professionalism gone to? We are seeing more and more ankles. I guess the pants are getting shorter, she means. Short, tight, and revealing clothing, tattoos, and excessive piercings. Now, I think the ultimate question is, does the way that you carry your hair, does the way that you dress, does the excessive jewelry, should this necessarily be an issue with regards to someone being on a job? And does it ultimately tie into, let's say, them not being viewed as a professional and by extension, maybe a bias towards thinking that they may not be, let's say, a good employee?
No, we have to start with defining professionalism. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, it is the competence or skill expected from a professional. The U.S. Department of Labor defines it as not necessarily wearing a suit or carrying a briefcase. Rather, it means conducting oneself with responsibility, integrity, accountability, and excellence. It means communicating effectively please listen to this sentence and Grenadines, especially the people in
Offices.
in these offices. And you see, not offices I go to say, especially the people in these customer service posts. It
Okay.
means communicating effectively and appropriately and always finding a way to be productive. What I think person should pay attention to more than they paying attention to your tattoo is visible, your hair is locked. I don't think that hairstyle is suitable for work. How about to pay attention to hair in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the attitude that a lot of people have going into these workplaces where they seem more angry with you that they're doing their job. Whatever is going on in your personal life doesn't have nothing to do with me. If I'm going to the bank to deposit some money, what's going on in your personal life don't have nothing to do with me.
And my personal life, you. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, if it is that I'm going to a restaurant and ordering food, what is happening in your personal life? I don't care if you're leaving home and you sit down in a van and the van rip your skirt on your way to work, and then you get your pants and you get to the restaurant and I call in for a chicken lunch and you more upset than with me that you're at work. That have nothing to do with it. Take it up to the Lord in prayer and your employer. These people, generally speaking, I think pay more attention to the way people carry themselves as opposed to the way they treat customers or the way they treat colleagues in a professional setting. That being said, the world is constantly evolving. We are no longer in a space where everybody needs to be in a suit and a tie to be deemed as a professional. In my humble opinion, my humble opinion.
So yes, I can name and done, man. The whole government name.
The way that you carry yourself, the cleanliness, the way that you communicate, and the way that you carry out your job determines your professionalism. Whether it is that I have locks or I have tattoo or I have a nose ring, that has nothing to do with the job. Now, if it is that for certain organizations there is a dress code and you must adhere to the dress code, then that is also fine. But I don't think that your hair has anything to do with the dress code.
Let's say if you have pink hair, loud pink hair.
I mean, you gotta act with it. You gotta act with it within actual reality in the way you do certain things. I ain't going to show up to my job with bright pink hair, purple hair, whatever. But that's
right.
Me personally.
All right, I'll take that's what we do after. Let's take this caller. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Roleza and Ari. Must have a little piece to say too. Must have a little piece to say. I see like is this a course in what they call it, customer service in this country? For a long time, since in my time, and let me speak like in the past, since in my time, I've always had a problem with customer service. And that's why if you have a business that is privately run, when I say privately run, yes, you're open to the public and so on, but it's a private entity, and those who are running it are concerned about how they should run it and so on. Like you just said there, if you have a dress code, you stick to the dress code. You're working with a private company, you adhere to that. And, you ensure, the private owners ensure that everything is done according to how they want it to be done. And if you turn out to be the number one private enterprise and so on, it's all good. It's all good that you can set an example and hope that others may follow. But it doesn't always happen so. According to your status, according to your grade, how you looked at in society, and everybody has a following, every mold and cheese that they have a bird and so on, right? So maybe it's according to how you do things and so on, you will be treated accordingly. I just want to hope you get the message. Thank you.
All right,
thanks,
you. Dave. All right, so somebody's showing up with pink hair, Ari.
Yeah, but that's why I say me personally, I wouldn't be wearing bright color hair. So I personally think it's kind of off-putting, but that's my personal belief. If it is I walk into an office and see somebody in pink hair, that had nothing to do with me.
Right. You know what? I think my opinions on this topic has changed over the years. Because I in the past would have been a stickler for what it is. I grew up seeing what persons were expected to look like, right? No bright colors in your hair. I know that at one point, I remember I was working somewhere, and initially when I started working there, I was wearing like bright colors in terms of like I would mix like a blue and yellow and so forth, and I think that kind of thing. I always say that I'm West Indian, I'm of African descent. I love colors, you know. And I remember that somebody told me that, you know, I'm supposed to be wearing sober colors, and sober colors will be the black, you know, the gray, the bronze, etc. You know, and to me it was a little bit interesting, but I didn't necessarily fully adopt it, but I did sort of blend into it in a sense, right? But I don't know if at this stage, and if it really and truly does matter to me, as long as somebody is properly attired. And I'm saying this in the sense where if you are in an office setting, I'm not expecting to see, unless it's a shirt jacket, call it, unless it's a shirt jack, I'm not necessarily expecting to see that your shirt hanging out your pants or your clothes improperly buttoned, not pressed, and that sort of thing, right? My opinions with tattoos, I also my opinion on this has also changed over the years, where even if it says it's a visible tattoo, as long as it's not something that's offensive, then I'm okay with it. I once remember standing up behind somebody in a line, and they had a tattoo of a naked woman on their arm, and I was like, why would you even want to have that on full display to the public, much less let's say if the person was in a workplace environment. So I think in some cases the appropriateness of the tattoos would be what it is I would question. Maybe if I do find it offensive, I would prefer for that person, let's say, to cover it up. The bright hair, I am also indifferent to it now, because, and I think one of the other things so that we have to look at is, and this is why having that conversation about schools and the way students carry themselves is always interesting, because school is almost like the foundation for persons entering into the workforce, where there is that expected conformity that's supposed to happen. There's that persons are supposed to be uniformed in a sense, where the way in which they carry they wear their clothing, their uniforms, the way in which their hair is put in place. You know, in high school and so forth, like we can't wear white. You can't wear white ribbons. You can't wear white well, I call them pom-poms, but hair pieces. You can't wear those things, you know. So I think sometimes even the school setting is a starting point. And when it is that I hear parents having issues and wanting that to deviate from what the school rules are, then I have to question, what is the expectation for when persons actually go into the workforce? Because we're talking about individualism. And if you're expecting, or as a parent, you want individualism while they're still at school, then what does that mean for the workforce itself? You know, so for me, I think it depends on where you're working. But ultimately, as Ari saying, I actually prefer to be treated with good customer service. I like people with manners, right? Manners and basic courtesies are the things that I would expect. I expect efficiency of service. But in terms of the way that you're attired, the way that you're dressed, I don't think that now recognizing that persons are individuals and maybe demonstrating individuality is what we should be appreciating. Again, as long as it's not offensive, then I'm all for that.
Yeah,
right?
We have 5 minutes left, so let's get into some comments.
All right, so we have a comment here. A young lady in the office next door has pink and green hair with a few tattoos. Never ever challenge her on a piece of software code. She will demolish you and make you feel like a student, right? So she knows her stuff. Doesn't matter how she's dressed with or how she looks, she knows her stuff. All right. Next comment. Hair does not come under the category. Hair does come under the category of grooming. So you really can't say blanketly, hair doesn't matter. Must be properly attired.
Yeah, but I think we could apply common sense to the argument that we have in that you don't expect people to be dressing raggedy however they please. You expect them to be clean and pressed. You might be surprised
that you have to tell persons these things. Ari, I'm telling you.
Well, you should be properly groomed. Your hair should be properly groomed. The way that you carry yourself, you should be clean and neat going into the workforce. I didn't think that was something that needed to be said in a discussion.
I'm going to tell you, be very surprised And I always see it for the younger persons too, but you'll be very surprised. But anyways, another comment here. You dress appropriate and speak properly on your work. Your tattoo does not have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that and the thing is, I if I'm not mistaken, there is I think it's a Civil Service Code Act. I can't remember the proper name for it, that says how persons are supposed to be attired. And I remember the person maker, when I spoke about the way in which I was dressed in terms of the pretty colors, the bright colors before, the person made a reference to that for me. And I haven't read through it properly, but there are some things in it that are so antiquated that it actually needs to be updated. And that's when I mentioned the sober colors, because that is also mentioned in that particular document. But I mean, the world is changing. I know that persons who grew up, who in the past, let's say, were part of government statutory organizations, those older folks, they're a little bit more hard and fast about certain things that they're expected to see. And this is why they always make comments when they go into various government departments about how persons are attired, because of what they grew up with, or what they would have practiced when they were in certain managerial positions in these organizations. But I think for us younger ones, in a sense, where we just want for people to actually do their work, do it effectively, talk to us properly, and that's it.
So one of the so most tattoo now is police, almost the whole force of tattoos. So when you're in the States, okay, let's take a quick call there.
All right. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Now, this morning, I know the topic is a very good topic, because you know what? I teach my boys to dress neat to go to work. And they come and meet me dressing, and they see my code of dressing, and they took from it. I have one girl, she also took from it, but she works with herself. So in life, you got to show an example to the kids. I never had a tattoo, but one of my boys, you all know one of my boys, but I won't say who. And my bigger boy, he is very, very technical with his dressing. He shove his short in his pants from morning, and he go to work, and he always want to look neat. The other one does, but he have a dress, a different dress code, something out in the street. But at your workplace, you got to have a little respect. And your work, it doesn't matter. Have a little respect on your workplace. You walk in and say, good morning, and you have your clothes well put into your pants, and your shoes looking nice, Good dress code, I don't have a problem with the hair, how people want to put the hair. There's styling, but a bright color going into work would not look appropriate. You have what type of color, even though you may dye your hair, you have rasta. I used to have rasta, and they was very nice. I just cut them out because I want different styling. But at the same time, when I was much younger, I went into a walk by a restaurant, and the woman wanted uniforms. I know I had to step in uniform, and I was making roti at the time. So dress code is very important. So the young them right now, some want to be in a little piece of pants and step into work. No, you can't do that. You got to show yourself. I work at the post office. I give out mails. But when I go to deliver, I have on a skirt and a top. I well dress. You understand? So this is my talk with you there. Have a blessed day.
All right, you too. Thanks.
But in all things, you have different kinds of attires for different occasions. There's club dressing, there's formal, informal, there's smart casual. There are the different types of dressing for different occasions. When I say I'm more focused on the professionalism, the attitude basically, than the dressing, I do still expect you to dress as if you're going to work. I don't expect people to be dressing for the club for certain posts. But again, society is evolving and we're moving away from certain things. Remember, WEFM started in 1998, 99? But they started uniforms. Everybody was wearing uniforms, doing uniforms today. No, it's evolving.
Yeah.
So we can't say, okay, well, this is the case, that is the case. As long as people are carrying themselves appropriately, then
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's guidance too, because as Ari was saying, he didn't expect that he would have to say, iron your clothes before you go into work and that sort of thing, right? I do know that the dress code, and I raised the point before, like with funerals, where I noticed that just because it's black and white, people holler on a black and white and say they're going to a funeral, but not all of it is also appropriate, you know, and it comes the same where you see certain things in the workforce. So I think that maybe sometimes, especially for the older folks, it's not that you want to dictate to persons exactly what to wear, but you can guide the young persons, you know. A young lady, big bamsi and that kind of thing, and the skirt is way too short or way too tight, you know, you could probably just speak to her. Now, the thing of it is being receptive to what you're saying might be the bit of a challenge. But I think some of these young persons, especially when they get into the workforce, they need that guidance, you know. So yeah, unless let me just read some things quickly. You guys are off. All these things do matter. Tattoos do also. If you work from home, dress however. All right, that's one person's opinion. I don't think that we're going to form a consensus today because persons have different views on it, right?
close-minded views.
I'm not going to say close-minded.
I'm saying it's close-minded
people
views.
are entitled to their opinions. Okay,
whether
so
they're
somebody
close-minded or
said,
not.
someone is saying, I think work area should have a standard. I wear uniform at work.
Yeah, different jobs have different requirements, but you can't come and tell me, oh, because I have locks, I should not have. So, you know, to hear with that.
You shouldn't have why you didn't finish your
certain
statement.
positions or certain jobs. And there's a common belief with a certain generation, oh, this person have a lock, he should not hold office, he should not. Anyways, a lot of the thinking that we have is colonial, but that's a whole other conversation.
Right, we might have to take this up another time. So yeah.
Yeah, the time is 9:43 and we're gonna make way for community dateline.